Every one of you, I'll see you in hell.
He thought he was a vampire and dismembered 3 people. However, it was his outburst when he was condemned that shocked everyone present even more.
Yeah, I'll see you all in hell.
Caius Vajovis was far from a normal person. Formerly known as Roy Gudfinski, he changed his first name to one inspired by 2 Roman emperors and his surname to that of a god of infernal character. However, appearance wasn't the only thing that mattered to him. He also had to follow certain behaviors in order to become what he longed for most, a vampiric personality. That's why, years before he achieved greater connotation, together with his girlfriend, they kidnapped a young woman to give her different types of cuts and then drink her blood. That would be one of Caius' first encounters with the police. However, it would clearly be far from being the last.
In a few hours, Caius Vajovis will be sentenced at the Hampden County Courthouse in Springfield. Vajovis was convicted for his role in the killing of Edward Frampton, Robert Chadwell, and David Glasser in Berkshire County. Their bodies were found chopped up and dumped in the town of Beckett.
The crime was horrendous. Caius, along with 2 other men, identified as Adam Lee Hall and David Chalou, kidnapped David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell. He would meet his accomplices through the Hells Angels Club. They wore vests with their insignia and had stickers of them on their cars. However, he wouldn't be the leader behind everything that had happened, since Adam Lee Hall had had serious problems with David Glasser because Adam thought David had stolen parts of his vehicle to sell them. That would be the main trigger for the terrible crime. Hall attacked Glasser with a baseball bat, which would land him to jail for several months. From there, he promised him that he would kill him if he talked to the police. After he got out of prison, he asked his friends for help to make good on his promise. It would only take a very short period of time for Lee, Chalou, and Vajovis to commit the terrible crime. The idea was to finish off Glasser and eliminate the other 2 men who were there with him, so that there would be no witnesses. They'd end up kidnapping the 3 of them and dismembering them, to then bury the remains in Beckett's private property. The arrests took place days later, and it was here that Caius Vajovis' face appeared, something that was hard to forget. Even his lawyer was thrown off.
The lawyer for a man charged with murder for his alleged role in the slaying of 3 men from Berkshire County says he is concerned his client's unique appearance will prevent selection of impartial jurors. Caius Vajovis is the 3rd suspect to face trial in the August 2011 slayings of David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell. The 33-year-old Vajovis has 2 rows of bumps resembling horns implanted in his forehead, a 666 tattoo between them, and other facial and neck tattoos. After discussing the matter, a Hampden Superior Court judge on Thursday told defense lawyer James Reardon Jr. he would ask potential jurors if there was anything about Vajovis' appearance that would keep them from being fair. The trial is scheduled to start September 3rd. Vajovis has pleaded not guilty.
Vajovis' trial caught everyone's attention, not only because of his unusual and striking appearance, nor for the brutality of the killings, but also because of his insistence on pleading his innocence of everything he was accused of. He did everything possible to avoid going to jail.
First arrested, the police made it clear to me they did not actually believe I had anything to do with the disappearance and the murder of these men. I've been in isolation for 3 years now. I've refused to talk to the cops. I've turned down all numerous plea deals offered me from the beginning. Just 1 month before this trial began, D.A. Caples called my attorney, Gavin Reardon, and told him he knew I could not kill these men. I told my lawyer what I've told him and others many times before. My hand was not in this. And I will not let this man sell me my own hide at the price of my integrity, that I'd rather spend the rest of my life in prison.
His lawyer was also doing his best to ensure that his client would not be found guilty of the brutal crime.
The Commonwealth has never been able to find the scene of these killings, and therefore I expect there will be no evidence or testimony connecting Mr. Vajovis to the location or locations where these crimes occurred.
However, the jury would ultimately convict Vajovis for the death of these 3 persons because of his intimate relationship with the other 2 murderers. When he knew that he had everyone against him, he finally exploded in front of everyone in the room.
Yeah, I'll see you all in hell. Please remember that. Every one of you, I'll see you in hell.
Caius Vajovis' reaction was to be expected after all. For several days, he had been struggling to prove his complete innocence with regards to the death of these men, but all the evidence pointed to his involvement in the dismemberment of these poor fellows. He'd starred in the crime, and that meant jail time for him.
As to each of the 3 counts of murder, impose a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, each one to be served from and after the other. As to the remaining count charges of kidnapping and witness intimidation, a sentence of not less than 8, not more than 10 years to be served concurrently with the corresponding murder charges.
What is certain is that the 3 culprits for the murder would end up being sentenced to spend the rest of their lives in prison without the possibility of parole. However, that clearly doesn't make up for the deaths of these men, who were unfortunate enough to mess with the wrong people.
Definitely there's something that's never going to be filled. I mean, because there are questions that I have that only he can answer, you know what I mean? And he's not going to do that, just like he never apologized because he's not sorry for what he did.
However, of course, beyond the brutality of the crimes, what will be remembered most of all is Caius Vayovis' face, one that belongs to a man who wanted to look like Satan and who dreamed of being a vampire.